Hello, Southeast Iowa. This is Amy Vandiver with another edition of the King Kong Trail. I'm here with my co-host and husband, Dougie.
Hi.
Hey, Dougie. How you doing?
So that's my name now? I'm Dougie?
Oh, well, Doug, Douglas, Dougie Poo, Mr. Vandiver. I don't know. I just call you whatever I call you when I call you something.
Nobody else is allowed to call me Dougie.
Okay. All right. Well, we do have someone else in the studio today, but I don't know whether to introduce him by his name or his character. So we have in the studio a very presidential guest. Super excited about it. And a historian who's going to be talking to us in character. And Dan Haughey is with us. He is President Ulysses S. Grant.
Good to be here. And I will be in character as just Dan. Just Dan. And I will tell you when I become Grant, or maybe you'll get a clue.
Well, Dan, it is good to see you again. You and I have, we run into each other. You substitute at the schools, and every once in a while I'll catch you in the library. And and you were on here one time earlier. You were talking about, what was that called again?
Kid Tech.
Kid Tech. I wanted to put an I in front of that. I don't know why. Everything has an I in front of it these days. So, how you doing?
I'm doing good and enjoy being in the schools and working with students in English classes and literacy and just trying to stay warm mostly. Yes. Keep up with family as well.
Yeah, it is one of my driving ambitions is to stay warm. I have a little space heater in the library, and it's 95% of the time it's running because my hands are so cold. Yeah.
So that's why all the students like to go to the library these days. They find the librarian who has a space heater and camp out. And,
yep. Yeah. I'm warm. I'm inviting. So tell us a little bit about you have a program coming up next month?
Yes.
Very shortly. I think by the time this airs, within a week. And so tell us a little bit about that program, and then we'll kind of work and find out a little bit about you and why you do what you do.
Well, through my teaching artist business, which is danac3.com, and as it sounds, can be found on the World Wide Web. One of the opportunities came by an invitation and a connection to the Burlington Public Library for their First Friday events. Mm-hmm. So the first Friday of each month, they have a special guest speaker, a presentation. And they had my other presentation I do, that's Civil War, about Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War General Ulysses S. Grant, in October. And so we discussed that afterwards. It was successful enough, and they said, what else do you do? And I said, would you believe President Ulysses S. Grant? So this version of Mr. U.S. Grant is the name of the play. It is a one-person show. It is a drama. It's not a stand-up speaker gig. It is a play with me doing everything that it needs to be Grant as president, reflecting on his 2 terms as a controversial president. Okay. And with that, the event will happen. Mr. U.S. Grant, the drama, will happen at the Burlington Public Library on Friday, February 6th at 10 a.m.
Okay, so I got to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
So there are 2 different presentations of Grant. One is general, and then one is president. Correct.
And as I've kind of been in the biz, as they say, for a while, of doing touring productions and workshops and things, I get various calls, especially with Grant being kind of a magnet, historical, and a rather educational character, to bring some entertainment to that. But I do other iterations of a Grant presentation. I actually did one for the Viking cruise line that comes down the Mississippi River and stops here in Burlington as well.
Oh, okay.
So it was the first year, the inaugural year, that they had that, and their entertainment director was Googling. They wanted something that related to a historical figure who had crossed the Mississippi or had traveled it, and Grant was one, and would be one, especially from St. Louis to Galena. And so they said, but that's also interesting because a lot of our people like to get educated while they're on the cruise. So I did another version. It was almost like a TED Talk on Ulysses S. Grant, and kind of pulled together some new material and some other things that I had researched and some new ways to present it. And
nice.
it was really a nice venue to be on that ship and presenting to all of those people that enjoyed education and entertainment. I think they called it edutainment when I did it that way.
Very cool.
But President U.S. Grant specifically, in his last evening at the White House, is what we capture in Mr. U.S. Grant, the President. And that's going to be the mindset of this particular play.
Okay. And that is, what's the date on that again?
The date is February 6th.
February 6th.
Yeah, 10 a.m. If they need more information, audience members can go to 319-753-1647. That's the library. Or they can go to the website, which is burlington.lib.ia.us. So they can Google that online as well.
Okay. And I will try to put that up on the screen at the appropriate time. So tell me a little bit how did you get connected with Grant? What sparked that interest?
Oh, it goes way back to approximately 1979, 1980. And I'm just going to skip a lot in this genesis of why this connected for me. But at the time, I was wrapping up a final term at the Florida State University Oslo Conservatory for Professional Actor Training. That's a lot to say. That was usually our vocal warm-up. If we could just get through that, we could take the next class. So one of the goals there, as it would be for all the students, is before you graduate, your thesis would be a one-person show, usually on a historical figure, not a fictional character that you create, but you do the research. And at the time, it was a real popular way to see quality theater. There were many actors from Broadway that were doing their own versions of Emily Dickinson, Will Rogers, all of these types. And so they thought that would be a way to really stand on your own feet. Plus, it might be a vehicle as an actor if you ever really needed something that was your own to tour. So anyway, that's kind of the backstory. So I had an assignment. The first thing was to do some makeup. Could you look like this character? And I might have procrastinated a little bit. It was a couple days before the makeup assignment, and I just literally stumbled on a picture, an encyclopedia of U.S. Grant, and my buddy was looking at it. He says, that's what you need to do for your makeup. He says, you might even do it for your one-person show. He was a fellow student. He had to do the same thing. And so, although I never got to that level there, I started researching a little bit. Then fast forward, the next summer, actually, I was kind of invited and encouraged and I guess persuaded to do some more summer stock theater, and it was in Ohio. And I kind of knew all the things I had to do, my roles and so forth for that. And the producer said, you look really bored. Come to my office. I want to talk to you. So we talked and talked. She says, if there's anything else you could do with your time this summer, what would it be? I said, well, I'm interested in this U.S. Grant thing, which is a birthplace of Ohio is the birthplace of Grant. She says, well, I am too. What if we put some money behind you and you just wrote it and we produced it this summer? And it was great. It was a crunch course in U.S. Grant. She surrounded me with scholars. She actually got Grant money to do Grant. And that was the genesis. That was really the beginning. And it was Civil War Grant at the time. Mm-hmm. And that took on some good marketing interest, and that started to branch out. In 1983 then, I'm thinking, why not? Why not explore President Grant? I'd already read the memoirs of U.S. Grant. He does not talk about his presidency in there at all, and I got suspicious. So I started reading a few more biographies, and there's a reason why. He had big trouble when he was president. It wasn't like being general of all the Union armies. Mm-hmm. It was a different bailiwick and a bag of problems. And right after, virtually right after, wrapping up the Civil War and going into a dicey period of American history called the Reconstruction, I said, man, there's got to be drama in that. Why not U.S. Grant as president? I need to explore it. And everything started to kind of write itself. One of the big advantages then, I went on to a playwriting program. It's where I finished my master's at Southern Illinois University. And another Grant play became my thesis. I just was getting all this information and knowledge and studying with Grant historians. And so it just kept feeding itself. And then I would get a demand once I graduated, when I would do the Grant show. Well, why don't you do President Grant? I said, we can do that. And it was all ready to go. I don't get that demand as much, but presidents in our society right now are a hot topic. And so this all kind of completes a cycle in the historical realm when it's time to talk about presidents again. After all, February involves President's Day and President's Week, so the library thought this is a perfect show for us. Bring it back. I don't know if that answers why Grant.
Yes, it does.
And why President Grant.
Yeah. And I know that you were obviously a college student when that was happening, because you said procrastination.
Kind of followed me a little bit.
And that, oh yeah, that was my thing in college.
No.
Yes. You know better. You know.
Oh, no. I remember.
Oh.
Yeah. So with the, going through and doing the President Grant, and you said you do a couple different, views of this, or a TED Talk or a one-man play. Have you done other presidents as well, or is Grant your man?
Grant's my man.
Okay.
Yeah. And I admire, I have a friend who does Thomas Jefferson. I have another friend who does several other historical characters. And he just put something out on Facebook in a Revolutionary War costume, in a big white wig. He says, I'm researching my next show today. Brian Fox Ellis, I salute you. So these artists who can carry 2 or 3 of those at a time and carry it in repertoire, I have a great respect for. But it is a lot. And what becomes even more of the baggage to be carried is usually it's natural. When I do the show, especially in a museum or library setting or a school setting, we have a question and answer period about the character of Grant afterwards. And that can be very lively. It can be, kind of risky sometimes, because I am not, as you graciously awarded me, Amy, a historian. I am an actor who does historical drama. But some of that rubs off. And so I meet other historians, and they rub off on me. Yeah, so, but it's all Grant. I mean, and I will never in my lifetime have finished what I could learn about this human being. It's just so much there.
Gotcha. Nice. So when you get into character and you get your costume on, or and set your stage, there's a picture of the stage behind me. And is this the setup that you will be using somewhat similar at the library?
Yes.
Okay. Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about how you set up the stage and how you set your mind to start your program?
Yes. Going back in time, rewinding a little bit, but back in 79, 80, when I started doing the first Grant, General Grant, and I knew this was going to be a portable touring show. I need to be able to fit it into the back of a station wagon at the time. People don't drive those much anymore, but and I was living.
They need to bring those back. I love station wagons.
I had a Woody. It was really cool. But
nice.
I was living with my parents between gigs, and I was still teaching at Lincoln Memorial University in the Three Corners area, where Tennessee and Kentucky and Virginia come together. A lot of history there, especially Civil War. But my dad said, let's go fishing. He said, I want to talk to you. He says, I told you not to get into theater, but you've done it. Okay, you've done it. I'm glad you're a teacher sometimes. He says, but I will do something for you. Can I build your set? Because he was a carpenter. So he made the first set, which is still what you see there. Now, it was not
Wow.
made for President Grant.
Uh-huh.
But I asked him, I said, what if I ever want to do that? He says, don't you have an imagination? Just use it like a puzzle and move it around. I'll bet you could use it. So this ends up being Grant's White House library. And at his library desk, actually the picture you have there has a vintage library desk in it. Some people call it a library table. Usually it has to have a drawer in it for certain things. Anyway, you can't see that. But all of this came from that Civil War hub in Virginia and so forth, and my father's making of it. So that's how that started. So how do I set it up? I think that was your question. You pull it out of the back of a van now, you wheel it on a cart, and it's meant to set up really quick. You know, and you find the center stage area, what's going to be the center point. Like where I'm standing in this photo you see now is pretty much the center. And, you know, you just need to have certain set pieces or props that help invite movement. The movement helps to kind of displace nervousness or nerves. The more you can move, the more your body is feeling like it's getting rid of that and doing something purposeful. So, you know, the scenery that's there is sparse, but it all has a purpose for a 55 minute show. This one's only 45 minutes.
Okay.
But because it's Grant as president, it gets a lot of questions afterwards.
Have any of the questions ever surprised you?
Yeah, in the sense that I don't feel as a political science professor, which I'm not again, that I feel them all that well. So I try to facilitate a conversation afterwards by where I can guide, not just throw out random questions, but I can guide where some of this is going to go. One of my disclaimers I say is, we cannot have any modern political questions come up in this conversation. Then I usually get a big chuckle or laugh, and they come up anyway. But it's good because we can compare a seminal president like Grant to what's going on today. And maybe what would he think of what's going on today? So, yeah, I am surprised. I mean, this is the greatest surprise. I was doing General Grant once at Fort Donelson, Tennessee. They had a nice auditorium. A lot of tourists go through there, and a lot of families and kids. And I was kind of greeting some as they were leaving in my U.S. Grant uniform, and people were very polite. And one little boy, just with his dad, was waiting back in the lobby, just waiting. I didn't know why or anything, but he waited till everybody else was gone, and then his dad walked him over. He couldn't have been any more than 8, 9 years old. And his dad says, go on, ask your question. And he says, sir, why do people fight wars? And I'm thinking, you know, from the mouth of a kid. And how perfect. I mean, I just went through being General Grant, and all we heard about was Civil War. I'm thinking this kid is really on top of it. But yeah, I think that was the one question now that really positions me just to take a breath after I finish my last beat, my last words as the actor, and just say, okay, what's on your mind? Let's talk about U.S. Grant.
Nice. And I bet that father really appreciated you taking that time with his son, because it was, you know, if a child is asking a question like that, they want not just a pat answer, they want something sincere, I think. So it was probably really nice that you took that time to do that with him. So,
well,
yeah.
I remember the answer. I can't forget that very well either. And I don't know what possessed me to say it. It felt like it was a little glib at the time, but I paused and I said, because people get confused. And he was satisfied, and they marched right on out the lobby and on their way to the rest of the, you know, historic site. But you know, afterwards, I kind of had a glass of wine later. And I said, you know, maybe that is true, because people get confused. So it wasn't the worst answer, but it, you know, I need to think about those kind of things. Why do presidents get into trouble? That question could come up on February 6th. So you just kind of think of all the possible things that maybe you wouldn't think about, but maybe people should.
Do you think there will ever be a third part? You have General Grant, the general. You have President Grant. Do you ever think that there will be a third installment of your grant in some
There's
timeline
already
in
another
Islam?
one. Now it comes and goes. This one.
Okay.
I have. I run across other fellows that are actors and love Civil War history and certain topics. So the one that, let's see, who was it that I teamed up? Well, there was an actor from the Quad Cities, Tom Swenson was his name, and he and I sat down, and he had done a one-person show on Abraham Lincoln. And so we tied those two character lives together and took bits and pieces of our show, shows, and made one show out of that. There's a few out there who do Robert E. Lee, who have asked me to think about, would you do Lee? I think that would be perfect.
That would be
It'd
interesting.
be
Yes.
interesting. Culture has changed a little bit about Lee since, the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, with free-thinking people in our society, why not? So those are ones that are possible. Now, the other one, I think this came from my co-actor who did Lincoln. He's really anxious, could we do Mark Twain and U.S. Grant? Because they had a relationship. Or they had an acquaintance and knew each other. And at the end of Grant's life, it was huge because I don't want to get too far ahead in the timeline, but Mark Twain sponsored Grant's memoirs. He published that and was the big money behind it because he liked Grant. He says, you got a big story you need to tell. And so Grant did it. And that turned out to be a legacy on his deathbed, dying from these old cigars with throat cancer. He had lost all of his money during some of the financial debacles, some of it during his own presidency. Excuse me. And he had nothing virtually to leave his family except for what kind people would give them. They needed a lot of money with their lifestyle. And so he just finished at the very last, almost the last day he was alive, certainly it was the last week, 2 volumes of his memoirs. And his beautiful writing. Grant was a wonderful writer, gifted, very gifted. And Twain had a lot to do with that. So there is a good story there that someone needs to do, probably make a Broadway production. I could just see it. The scene would be Mount Grayer, New York, where Grant's at his cottage and he's in and out on the porch and from his deathbed, and all these doctors and politicians trying to get in the last word with him and his last bit of wisdom. And then he's sitting there writing his memoirs, just feverishly getting them done to the very end. And then he died, but he left that. It sold thousands of copies, even before it was published. So it did leave that financial legacy to his family.
Okay.
That would be kind of an interesting one to do down in Hannibal, Missouri, or something like that.
Yeah, that would be.
'Cause I'm sure there's some actors down there that would do Mark Twain. I would think.
There's a few. and by the way, in the Midwest and between Iowa and Illinois, there's more than a few that do Grant. Yeah.
Well, you're the first one I've ever heard that did. So.
Oh, good.
And my claim to fame with Grant was my stepmother. She said that they were related to the Grant family, President Grant. Now, I don't know if that's true, but that was her maiden names, her father's name. So I don't know. So, would you like to do your monologue?
Sure. Yeah. Let's make believe that we're in the White House library. It's late at night. Nobody else is around. Maybe Grant's wife Julia is in the background somewhere. Grant's just there with his coffee.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. What you need?
Oh, let me get a picture.
I got my phone turned off.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
we'll
good.
edit that part out.
That you've got the technical things worked out, because that gave me a chance to think of what I want to say. And his other best friend, a cigar. President Abraham Lincoln. I never saw him until he gave me my commission as Lieutenant General. Afterwards, I saw him often, either here in Washington or at headquarters. I believe he spent the last days of his life with me. The last month of the war, he was with me all the time. He was a fine horseman. He rode my horse, Cincinnati. Lincoln was anxious about the ending of the war. He was afraid we could not stand another campaign, and he wanted to be around when the crash came. I have no doubt that Lincoln will be a very fine figure in history, a great one. He was a great man. The more I saw him, the more this impressed me. And what marked him mostly was his firmness, his sincerity, his kindness, and his ability to see clearly into all affairs. Well, some people will tell you that Seward, his cabinet, Stanton, Chase, would sway him, but that was not true. Oh, you might see him going to them, but all the while they were going with him. And it was that gentle firmness and his ability to guide all without force or friction that formed the basis of his character. Grant on President Lincoln.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So your program that you'll be doing at the library,
Yeah.
That was great.
Well, thank you.
how long is that going to be?
45 minutes.
45
and
minutes.
then a little bit of time, usually 10 minutes for Q&A afterwards.
Okay. I liked how you just kind of morphed into this, into your character, into Grant.
I love when actors are able to do that. It's something I respect about acting. I have a daughter who's a dancer and a choreographer. And I'm reminded by people like her as to the special ability. And I don't think I have that much talent. I mean, I would, if I was really, I guess, to follow anybody, I might like somebody like Dustin Hoffman, who's a great actor. I really like his work. I wish I could be like Dustin Hoffman. But he says, I want to tell you, and this was in an interview, like Actors on Acting, and he says, no, I don't have much talent. My container of talent is just that much. But he says, now, turn to Olivier. He's got all of this. He says, the difference is I fill mine up all the way. Tongue in cheek, but I think that's what I respect, and you get that when they leave it all on the stage, and it's wonderful. And my daughter once reminded me that she said, Dad, it's about, how did she put it? She says, it's about how you transform. That's the word, kind of like you were saying, but she uses a different word for it. But it's that transforming that someone does when they really take that leap that they have created and they really believe who they're trying to be.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're disappearing, and the president is coming out, and when they walk away, I think that people are going to think more of Grant than Dan that came down to put on the play. I think that is. I think that would, to me, is what I would see as you do this.
And I wouldn't want to take away from any of the mystique of acting, but the paradox is, but I can't do it without using Dan. I have to use myself.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the other things that still fascinates me about acting, really good acting, is, but that's Dustin Hoffman doing that. But it's not Dustin Hoffman. It's that character
Mm-hmm.
that's going through that. Yeah.
I was just watching a documentary on John Candy. He said, "I just pretend a lot." Yeah, it was really good.
The school I come from says we call that make believe, but it's semantics, right? I mean, and that's what he was so great at, was pretending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do Grant,
Mm-hmm.
you do President Grant, you do General Grant. You brought a guitar with you today, and
Does Grant play guitar?
No, he was not a musician.
Oh, that's
he
too
could
bad.
not barely stand to sing hymns in church, and he was not a great churchgoer, but he had to, and because his family wanted him to, and so he was shy about singing or music. I think he appreciated it though. He liked theater, that's for sure.
What in theater did he like? Do you know his favorite things that he had? I mean, with your research.
Well, we all know that he was tempted by the acting of John Wilkes Booth, ironically.
Oh, I did not know that.
Well, and there's another story that comes out in the presidency. Actually, it follows this monologue I just did. That it was the night of the theater that Lincoln tragically went to with his wife.
Uh-huh.
And Lincoln wanted Mrs. Grant and Mr. Grant, of course, to go. He was then still a general. Actually, no, he was Secretary of War then. Lincoln had brought him up. And, well, Mrs. Grant said, "I'll have nothing to do with the theater. We haven't visited our children at school in Burlington, New Jersey. We're going to Burlington. Not Burlington, Iowa, but Burlington, New Jersey."
I didn't
So
know
that
there was a
was
Burlington,
that.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Huh.
And so, anyway, they go to Burlington instead of going to the theater with Mr. and Mrs. Lincoln.
Oh,
Otherwise,
on the
they
night?
had seats right next to them.
Mm.
And actually, Grant was a target. And in fact, the day of the theater was the day they were at the train station. And as they were pulling out, they were in their carriage, or pulling up to get out of the carriage and get on the train. A man starts riding a circle around them on a horse. It was John Wilkes Booth. He was casing and just looking and confused because he expected them to be at the theater with Lincoln. But he was profiling them and wanted to be sure he had all of his victims in place. And he was very upset that he couldn't get Grant. But thank goodness that his wife made him to go visit the kids
Right.
at their school.
Otherwise, you wouldn't have. You would just have the general play to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the
You wouldn't have the
presidential.
president at all.
But yeah, so, and it's kind of sad, but I'm not sure I'm answering your question. And I think I got us off a little bit, but definitely there was all these coincidences with Lincoln, for sure, and he certainly respected him with that. But music, I think, was your question. He did love the theater. He liked the theater. Even during the war, he thought it was a luxury sometimes to be able to have a little time off, but the theater was his, I guess, his escape, his distraction. Like for us, it was kind of his therapy. He didn't go a lot, but he liked it more than music. Music, not so much.
Gotcha. Well, I wasn't sure, since you brought the guitar, if you're playing a song as President Grant or...
Well, I may play a snippet of something he likes. How about
Okay.
that?
Sure.
Well, let me go find that guitar.
Okay, well, while you
And-
do that, we'll take a quick break so you can get reset with that.
We are back on the King Kong Trail with Dan Haughey.
As
Getting-
Dan Haughey this time.
As Dan Haughey, singing some songs. You talked to me a little bit about some Gaelic songs.
Yeah.
I'm a simple guy. I don't know what Gaelic means. So can you tell me a little bit about what that is?
Sure. Gaelic really refers to the original native Irish language of Ireland
Okay.
and Scotland. But the stories that are told through songs in that old language have come across us in English. And actually, some of what I do as Gaelic songs are a lot of traditional Irish tunes. I may do a little piece of one that's actually in Gaelic for you.
Okay.
I don't
Ooh.
do much of that at all. But it all comes from that Gaelic tradition of many centuries ago. And it also includes what we might call Celtic music,
Mhm.
but the music of the islands, Great Britain in Ireland, Scotland, those kinds of musical origins. And so that's what I do, and I kind of tell stories, lace some little transitions and storytelling between some of the songs that I do. What I'm getting ready to do on March 6th, it's another First Friday at the Burlington Public Library, 10 a.m. in the morning there. They're going to have coffee, and I'm going to do a program of Irish songs, which comes from my Gaelic Songs program. So yeah, look that up at the library. It's going to be a lot of fun. And some libraries call this Dan's Coffee Shop Music, which is perfect because there's actually going to be coffee there for the audience. So we'll
Coffee is good.
Either way.
You need
Yeah.
coffee is good, yeah.
Yeah, and that'll certainly give me kind of a boost when I need it. But so I thought I would do a little bit of sampling of that,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of storytelling about the nature of the song I'm going to do and how it will connect back to Grant.
Okay.
Oh,
Then I
you're
might
bringing
have
it
to-
full circle
I'm
there.
trying to bring it full circle if I can. Okay. So, one of the things I start off with in Gaelic songs is a tradition called a shanty song. Maybe you know of these,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to do with any song that has "Let's go put up the sail, let's get the mast going, let's get this ship out of harbor." These were songs to work with, to work by, that sailors would use. So there's many of them. And it comes a little bit before this one came. This was, we think, goes back to the 1860s, 1890s, which is during the time of Grant. This is What Do We Do with a Drunken Sailor? 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 Early in the morning, way ho and up she rises, way ho and up she rises, way ho and up she rises, early in the morning. So that's the idea, and that's called a shanty song.
Mm-hmm.
But many people know that song
Mm-hmm.
because of what the cross-cultural winds went to blow from the islands, from Great Britain, from Ireland. Even here, we are familiar with this as a pub song. It's a
Right.
great pub song and a good Irish tune. The others will claim it. Maybe the British, maybe the Scottish, but it's very Gaelic in that's origin. It's in English, not in Gaelic language. Could be sung in Gaelic. Now, stepping back a little bit, and that song could also not just be a sailing song, but it could be a marching song. You heard it in 4. It's a soldier song.
Mm-hmm.
Left, right. So there was an Irish army, not just an Irish navy. But in their many kinds of wars and naval battles with Great Britain, there's another sailing song that has to do with the military or with the navy, Oro Shidava Hawaii. Now that's Gaelic. It celebrates the pirate queen. I'm going to lose her name right now, sorry. But she was traditionally the only woman ever to take charge of the Irish Navy and challenge the British. So the soldiers on land, the sailors by sea, also pay tribute to her with a special song. And it's really like a fight song, or it's a good soldiers marching, let's get ourselves psyched up and get into battle song, or sailors. O Roshidava Hawaii, O Roshidava Hawaii, O Roshidava Hawaii, Nishar Hakentari. And that's kind of how that goes. But again, the 4. Nice marching tune. Yeah, so that's another idea. Now that was a shanty song, and that came even before we have What Do You Do with a Drunken Sailor? Okay, marching tunes. Well, fast forward to the 1860s. We're beyond the Revolutionary War. We're into the Civil War. And many Irish fought for both the North and the South in the Civil War. And this is a marching tune that came from their tradition as well as the English tradition as well. Rally round the flag, boys. Yes, we'll rally round the flag, boys, we'll rally once again. shouting the battle cry of freedom. We will rally from the hillsides, we'll rally from the plains, shouting the battle cry of freedom. And so with that, there was a nice patriotic fight song for the North. The Union forever. The battle cry of freedom is the way the North titled that song as well. But also the Confederacy had the same tune, the same idea, the same beat, the same marching of their version. And a lot of that stemmed from the Irish tradition of these marching songs or shanties.
Huh.
So it comes back, and Grant would have loved that music because it kept the soldiers on their work, marching, marching, marching. And they would sing it as they march, and he was all for that.
Gotcha.
Nice.
So it is really full circle.
It really is, yeah. So
Yeah.
we hope both on February 6th and March 6th, folks will come out and see what they can take in culturally, musically, and especially historically with U.S. Grant, the president, and as well Gaelic songs.
Very nice. So if somebody wanted to have you do a presentation with their group, do you what is your process for booking those?
They can do it the old-fashioned way. They can find my phone number, which is 309-236-2772, 309-236-2772. That's right here in Burlington. But they can, easier said, to go to my website, which is easy, www.danac3.com, danac3.com, the number 3. And they can reach contact information there. They can see my repertoire of shows and, things like reviews and testimonials and things like that.
How many shows do you have in your catalog?
I was afraid you were going to ask that.
100 million?
Enough, but not too many. No. Couldn't keep up with it, barely. But let me see. If I can name them, there's another show that's called Ranger Man Dan, which is about the environment and with music. There's another show called Americana Melodies, which is more of simply the 1860s songs.
Okay.
And it goes right up to the end of the 1860s. And some tunes from the Confederacy and from the North and the South in that. And so also there is the various iterations of U.S. Grant in that. I don't think that I'm missing much else. The Ranger Man Dan is a great family show about the environment, which I get to portray one of my favorite characters, which is to be a park ranger. All I'm missing is Smokey the Bear, but
Do you get to have Yogi Bear?
don't even get to have him. But we
No
do
picnic basket?
We do talk about being kind to bears, but no picnic basket. Maybe I need to think about writing that in. That would be a good thing, especially if we wanted to do dinner theater. But
There you go.
Yeah,
That would be a
okay.
perfect,
Yeah, that would work.
transition for that.
It seems like I'm missing something, but at danac3.com, that's kind of
Okay.
the repertoire there. But a fair amount of focus around Civil War and 1860s subjects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool.
Can I go ahead?
And your guitar, I was noticing your guitar is just like kind of really cool. Can you tell us a little bit about your guitar?
Well, yeah, it's more of a rock and roll acoustic 6-string guitar. It's a Fender Black Cat. I'm sorry, I can't remember
that's
the
fine.
signature who signed. You can tell me whose signature is up there. Can we see?
Tim Armstrong?
Yeah, I think. But with some rock and roll group that I should know. And I'm sorry I don't, but
That's okay. It's a cool guitar.
yeah, and
I've
for
just
the
never seen one
value,
with
it
the
has
the
it
skulls
has a really
inlay.
nice tone. I mean, I do like cats, so that kind of works. But yeah, really nice tone.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's got electric pickups on it, so I
Those are
can
handy.
Get to bigger venues,
Mm-hmm.
auditoriums, and things, and it helps. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, it's just a pretty guitar, and
Thank you.
I like guitars, so I was just wondering about
Well,
about
yeah,
it.
we should pan to what's behind us here.
Oh, people have seen that.
This is history right here. The history of guitars.
Yeah, we have a couple.
Just a few. Well, have we maybe glossed over something that we need to talk about?
Well, like I say, I got invested in about 1979 in looking at Grant as a person and trying to get behind all of the things I grew up as imagery of Grant and hero kinds of worship of him in the North, General Grant, but also, some of the common misnomers that, he's nothing more than a drunkard, just choked on cigars. He sent too many soldiers into battle, and really mercilessly killed more of the Union soldiers than what he did even of the Confederacy, which some of this is true, and that he was more of a butcher. He was, in his time, a military genius. He didn't want to be categorized as a Napoleon, as a general. But people north and south didn't necessarily love him, but they respected him and trusted him for the way he took the surrender of Robert E. Lee and treated Lee with all the respect. And Lee's men, something that was unusual. He allowed them at least to keep their sidearms, and worked out certain paroles so that they could go back and farm. And he wanted to help with that. He believed in peace. There is at the Ulysses S. Grant National Historic Site in St. Louis. When you leave there, there's a big marquee with his statement about peace, and I'll try to be sure you have that, because that's all he ever wanted, especially as president, was peace for everyone. And he means Native Americans, he means immigrants, he means everyone in the United States, and unity above all. He would be thinking that we're in an odd situation. Now, what he would come back to say, and he says this in one page of his memoirs, that he felt, although a big part of what the Civil Wars fought over was slavery and racism, he just worried we would never be able to overcome the subject of racism in this country. He worried about that a lot. Ironically, he owned a slave. It was given to him by his father-in-law as a wedding gift. His father was a slave owner. His father-in-law was a slave owner. His father was an abolitionist. Now, how do you put those families together in the mix of the Civil War? These families were divided harshly, wouldn't speak to each other because of these things. But he married a beautiful woman who loved him, and he loved her, and she was so loyal to him, but she came from slave-holding families. She was spoiled with rich family influence. She had slaves waiting on her hand and foot. Well, he had one, but he freed that slave. Grant freed that slave. And at a time when Grant really needed it. He was not a great farmer himself. He was getting destitute. He was in ragged clothes selling chopped wood on the corner streets in St. Louis. He just believed in freedom and equality for all, and he wanted to do his best to make it happen. When he became president, he became rich, very rich, rags to riches. But I think where he would wonder about us as a nation is why now? Why can't we be more unified now? Because he thinks this as a patriot. We're coming up on, we're 2026. We're celebrating an anniversary of our country.
250th.
Yes. He would think, why now? This would mystify him, why we're so divided now. So
I was actually
in this scene, I'll just kind of end on this. But I chose this moment just to do one act because it takes place in his last night, virtually in the White House, in 1876, the 100-year anniversary of our country. And he's writing these reflections in his annual state of address to Congress as to how he has seen his whole presidency. And it just couldn't really do it justice in 45 minutes, but we're going to try.
And that's going to be a really incredible show. So, yeah. So that once again is February 6th, and then the Gaelic. What is your show called in March? Do you have
That is Gaelic songs.
It's Gaelic.
It might be subtitled by the library, Dan's Irish Coffee Shop, because they like to have everybody enjoy themselves with refreshments and coffee and things, and so.
If they have coffee and it's an Irish thing, are they going to have Irish cream?
Oh, I wish.
Because I mean, that's just kind of.
They won't let me bring Jameson, I'm sure, but.
Well, you were looking for whiskey when you first got here.
Oh no! Nobody will invite me to their home now because he always comes asking for the booze. I'm so sorry. I enjoy whatever libation you have here. It's great, to be on the King Kong Trail. I just enjoy it.
Well,
go ahead.
It has been an honor to have you join us once again.
It's only water.
And yeah, well, it's wet, so there you go. Oh, okay. So Southeast Iowa, you need to come out to the library the first Fridays. They have a program every month on the first Friday of the month at 10 o'clock, and they've had some really interesting shows. But two in a row are by our guest, Dan Haughey, U.S. President Grant or U.S. Grant President.
The president, yes.
The president. Okay, I want to get the title right, and then the Gaelic. Dan's coffee shop, possibly with Irish cream.
No. It's the library. Respect the library.
I love the library. I go there all the time. I love the library. It is so much fun, but that could make it funner.
Hey, I'm all in.
Okay. Oh, well, you'll have to come back and do this again with us sometime, and we've really enjoyed having you on. So thank you so much for coming. And I think we good, guys?
That's
All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yes. Thank you. And we'll see you again on the next edition of the King Kong Trail. Bye.
see ya.